All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Paranoia Agent, episode 13.
The
This
finale.
is the finale. Mm-hmm.
We're here. It has been one trippy, crazy journey.
Yep, Satoshi Kon's a mad lad. Absolutely killed it with this show. And now we have to see how the landing is stuck.
Right.
If the ending is paramount, then what will we get here?
That's right. And we had some developments last episode.
Yes. Maromi's
Tsukiko
origins.
Killed her dog.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what it seems to be. They didn't go into exact specific details, but that's what it seems to be.
Yeah.
So,
and that ties into her whole state right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's why Maromi is talking to her and saying, you did nothing wrong, wrong. And it shows where a lot of the origins for these ideas and, I would say, psychological phenomena that kind of spread throughout people come from an intense emotional experience of some kind. So, Tsukiko, I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But we got Akari and his wife and their whole situation.
Yep.
Akari is still lost. But his wife is now dying potentially. She encountered our wacky old scientist guy.
Yep.
Then we also have Ikari's partner who's still going on his journey of justice as being a hero to try and stop Shonen Bat. And he's kind of aware of what's going on too. He does have a pretty good grasp on things, despite a lot of this not being a literal kind of thing. We have to figure that whole thing out as well.
Oh boy.
And
but this is the last episode of Paranoia Agent, and that means there's going to be something replacing it. So make sure to stick around to the end of the discussion so that you can find out what that is.
In that I chose Paranoia Agent for this slot. Jacob chose a show. I know what it is.
Yeah.
And some of you guys are going to be very excited about it.
Indeed.
So, it's pretty good. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this.
Soulless eyes.
Oh, that's freaky. That's freaky.
Yeah. Okay, QB.
Oh. Wow. Oh my god.
Well, I guess this is where Satoshi Kon goes full Satoshi Kon.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That was pointed, Satoshi. He's like having it come through the TV, like specifically. It's also a fun excuse to have like the final episode, to have like crazy, animation and stuff like that for like all kinds of stuff. Nice. Yeah.
There is no war within the walls.
Yeah. Wow, now he's in the outfit. Wow. Oh, his wife, good. Yeah. Whoa.
Service. お仕事大変でしょ? イカリさんの好物、私が作ったの。
Is that his wife is younger? Yeah.
どんなとこで油売ってないでさ。
はい、ただいま。うるさい。大丈夫。ちょっと動悸がしただけだから。
Yeah.
どうやって入ってきたのさ。
主人を返して。
ここはあんたのいるところじゃないよ。月ちゃん、お父さんを連れて逃げて、早く。
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
ダメよ、マロミ。
Whoa, yeah, she... Whoa, yeah. Whoa. Okay, wow. Oh, here she is. Oh. Yeah. You don't need all these fantasies and all this.
But that wasn't enough for him.
It wasn't enough. I know, but. He said that to her, but he wouldn't even accept that for himself. Yeah. And he feels guilty because of that. Wow. Whoa. Oh, crap. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. Nice. Whoa. Whoa. Wow. And with him, Tsukiko.
Yep.
Maniwa.
どうしまったんだ。焼肉は割り勘です。
すべては月子だったんです。Take you back to the beginning.
月子が10年前に生み出した妄想の産物だったんです。全部少年バットが悪いんだ。
Oh man.
お前を死なせたのは月子なんだぞ。
Wow, and he's hitting Murumi with the bat.
Yeah.
Stopping for a second.
通り魔に襲われた飼い犬のマロミの散歩中に。
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
ローラーブレードを吐き、金属バットを持った少年。こんな通り魔は最初から存在しなかった。
Right. Okay. Good. I was like, are they contradicting all the things that we figured out? Like.
注意からマロミは通りかかった車にはねられて死んだ。
Okay, so she didn't kill Murumi.
She blames herself, though.
Yes. Oh. A Murumi looking up at her.
父上はすべてお見通しだったよ。父上は君のために犯人探しに奔走した。
Yeah, that's gotta be really freeing for her because
君を厳しくしつけるあまり内向的な子供にしてしまったという自責からだ。何は
Yep.
やっと一つになったか。
I mean, the truth can be easily just denied, yeah. Murumi. Yeah. But now they're the same. Yep. Oh, everyone.
Yep.
Oh. Wow.
She needs to let go.
Oh, yeah. Yep, good. Makes sense that the final battle would be inside her head, you know? Oh, we're back. We're back there. Okay. Oh. Stomach ache? Oh, come on, show. Come on. We know. We don't need to see it.
But she needs to see this.
She does, yeah. Oh, my stomach's in knots. You can hear the sound of the skates.
Yeah.
It's like the sound of the wind, too. Wow. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Nice. Nice. We won. You did it. Wow. All those lives, all those people. Oh my god. Oh. Oh wow.
I guess they are making that tie back to the nuke. No.
Yeah. Okay, Maniwa.
Okay.
Oh, gotcha. We're checking back with all those characters.
Yeah.
And it continues. One person learned the lesson, but you can't stop the fact that this world that they live in perpetuates it to the. And now we have Marumi's replacement. Oh. 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 Now we go back to our scribbling maniac.
Yeah. Equals the end.
Equals.
Wait, this is Maniwa.
That's Maniwa. Yeah. What?
Okay.
There might be an end credits scene.
Potentially.
Let's see. Actually, there very well could be, yeah. What the heck is this show?
Cause see, I'm the one with the gas tanks. Tink, tink.
that was something. Okay.
Wow.
Maybe there is no scene, because every other episode we would get something with the old guy, but now that we know that was.
Maybe we'll get something with Maniwa as the old guy.
Sure.
Giving like one final resolution bit, you know.
Right. Oh, Maniwa's perpendicular to the circle. Okay. Yeah. Maniwa.
Okay.
終わりに見えし物語巡り巡りてことはじ布石の拾い結ぶ英語回帰の無限道解かれぬままの謎はなく謎をはらまぬ解もなし
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's a good.
Yep.
Okay, that's how you give like a.
That's like some Bakano ending.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
some satisfyingly unsatisfying, you know. Okay, it's over. Paranoia Agent, the show about characters and the world that we live in, dealing with the repercussions of someone's psychological, emotional, mental trauma, carrying forth into an idea that begins to shape the way we think on a subtle but small level, to where it catches forth because of the way things spread via, just the modern world, till it becomes a manifestation of the darkness of humanity and takes over and just consumes everything. And Satoshi Kon's making statements about modern society. He's making statements even about war. He's making statements about the internal human condition. And in a lot of ways, he's holding himself back, I would say, just enough, because there's no real satisfying answer to a lot of these problems.
Well, just that they exist and that the cycle continues.
Yep.
And that the journey that we go on to fix them is something that we all need to do.
And it only really goes on an individual level.
You can't make a show about it. You can't just make an anime about it and have the problem be fixed.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because as I approach kind of the show and I think about like what I would want to discuss about it, I can feel my own worldview actually limiting my ability to see it from Satoshi Kon's perspective. Like I'm seeing specific things and I go, that? I don't know how to discuss that.
Right.
This part I know how to discuss because it fits more in line with something of a perspective of my worldview. And I actually wonder if that's actually a big part of the show. Is as he had that little scene at the end there and he's all like, okay, so as you know, this story seems to come to its end. But actually, when you go back and look at this, you'll realize that it's an eternally perpetual phantasmal castle. Phantasmal meaning an illusion, some kind of... in some cases maybe a little bit intense of an illusion that doesn't end. It viciously cycles back on itself over and over and over again, because maybe the way we as individuals can only really discuss something of this nature is to look at it in that kind of selfish oriented manner,
right?
And therefore things devolve into discussions surrounding things like losing a puppy and the trauma of going through that, and then turning yourself into a victim because it's a survival mechanism, and all that kind of stuff is so self-oriented. And yet this show is way more of a macro level kind of discussion thing on the majority of it.
And one of the things that I wouldn't say confuses me, but it's a question that's posed that I wonder about. How much of this comes from Satoshi Kon's musings versus his own personal feelings and experiences?
Sure.
And that...
Okay.
So, like, when Maniwa was at the very end, right, as the old guy now, giving that sort of conclusion bit.
Yeah.
A part of me was like, that's Satoshi Kon.
Right. Yeah. You can feel it. Yeah.
Right. And he's, it feels like he's gone a little bit crazy, but at the same time, he always wanted to be that champion of justice that's fighting the evil monster and all that stuff, but he didn't quite fit in, and then there's all these other things with the other people, right? Akari and not appreciating and accepting and understanding his wife, and the fact that that's something that he won't be able to get back, right? They could have done something like in Satoshi Kon's works, there's so much of it that is sort of suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah.
Where
it's a creative medium.
It's a creative medium, exactly, right? But in, say, this one in particular, with things like, say, Tokyo Godfathers, it's a bunch of, unlikely events, right? In something like Paprika, you've got the sci-fi aspects and the dream stuff and whatnot, and and there you go, right? That's sort of an in-universe reason for why it's happening, beyond just, say, being a Christmas miracle.
Right.
Here, because it's something that's generated because of Tsukiko's past trauma, unconscious, all that stuff, right? And things that other people have to deal with as well, and they latch onto these things because it helps them in some way, right? How much they could have done something where it actually wasn't real, right? The slime going around was actually just a metaphor, because it is a metaphor, and they could have left it at that. But they keep it saying no, it was a literal thing that happened, right? To some extent, even if the details didn't exactly look like that, everything seems to point that it did, right?
Yeah.
That it certainly happened. All the destruction was real. the people that potentially died, that was real, kind of, sort of, but not everyone's dead or anything, but
Well, like, here's something that I was thinking about this from that perspective as well a while ago, and I realized how literal they were wanting to take certain things with once Maniwa brought up the word paranoia. Like, the minute he said paranoia, I was like, roll credits, that whole joke.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, wait a minute. I should get actually a legit definition of paranoia here, because I think this is something where you can feel Satoshi Kon actually talking about some of his fears here.
Okay.
Is that this is a scenario that is totally implausible from a statistical standpoint.
Yeah.
It's not likely.
Right.
But it is possible. It is possible. And so this is the definition of paranoia: a mental condition characterized by delusions of persecution, unwarranted jealousy, or exaggerated self-importance, typically elaborated into an organized system. Shonen bat, basically. It may be an aspect of chronic personality disorder or drug abuse, or of a serious condition such as schizophrenia in which the person loses touch with reality. So what I see there that's really interesting is I think of paranoia simply through the fear standpoint, and then the para aspect manifesting that fear into a paranormal, not real, what have you. But what I see specifically here is that paranoia can manifest itself via very different feelings of environmental, I would say, pressure or what have you. Different catalysts, yes. And the idea that society is so connected in the way ideas and information is distributed that the negative ones can effectively be like a virus and just infect people so rapidly that by the time we're able to see the symptoms of it, it's too late. It's manifesting it. It doesn't need to look all the same way. It comes across in all these different ways. And I think that's why he had all those little vignette stories in the earlier parts before the finale, where he would showcase, this is where the paranoia affects these types of people and these types of people and these types of people. But it's all the same thing. And Shonen Bat and all that is just a representation of what mass paranoia would look like. And then we go and have these little stories telling where the individual levels, things that cause that. So persecution being like the guy at the animation studio. Exaggerated self-importance in some ways being like Akari, for instance, there. The idea that he wants to be the hero and chase down the bad guy and have this whole fantasy world built around him.
Or Ichi.
Or Ichi, yeah, absolutely. I think Satoshi Kon basically just took those aspects of that. And then the real part is that he's having this be his warning message to anyone watching this, in that this kind of thing could very much happen. It doesn't matter the exact mechanics of what the consequences are of it.
Exactly.
It's that a mass paranoia event could happen that would cripple society, as it were, for a period of time. But most people wouldn't learn their lesson from that and would fall back into the cycle to where it slowly builds up again and again and again. And that's something rather dark. That's something extremely terrifying, because I think he's right in the standpoint of there being those releases, those moments in time throughout history where you see,
like the nukes.
Yeah, stuff like that. War is a great example of that. Like, you look at history, it's a pretty crazy, messed up kind of thing. But there are these moments where you'll see incredible amounts of I would call it essentially paranoia, or whatever it was. I don't know, that caused human beings to just do some crazy stuff. And it's not something as paranormal, I would say, as this. It's just that there were all these slow little factors over time building up.
That from a certain perspective can seem paranormal in their power.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And that's something like that. I'm not sure whether to use the term of ahead of his time, for this, with Satoshi Kon and how he explored this
pretty recently,
or in some ways timeless. Because the reason I brought up ahead of his time is because of how technology, for instance, has made us so much more connected as
social media,
the human species, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, there's all these cases of paranoia that come up in a lot of situations. Yeah, 2004.
2004.
We didn't even have smartphones back then. Like, so, and the ways that can affect people and society en masse, right?
Yeah.
But then the fact that he's getting at these things, and he's looking in a lot of cases, like he straight up brought it up of this looks like after the war, to history for things like wars and whatnot. This is something deeply ingrained in the psyche of humanity, both on an individual level and on a collective level, that isn't really ever going away.
No.
It's just that it will either be brought to the forefront or hid, or covered up or whatever because of circumstantial things, right? In the same way that Tsukiko avoided, her trauma from her past, right?
Yeah.
It might be something that you don't have to openly deal with at a given point in time.
Very good.
But that doesn't mean it's not there, and that doesn't mean you're not dealing with it, whether you like it or not. But yeah.
I think a good little point to bring up here was Ikari was originally our thought to be the self-insert for Satoshi Kon. I don't know much about Satoshi Kon's person as what he was, but Ikari was the one that didn't feel like he was connected to reality. Like, there are a lot of things going on that he just didn't understand. And while he had his stuff specifically that is with his wife that kind of maybe made him a little nervous and what have you, and pushed him away from her over the course of time.
It made it a concrete manifestation of that he was already dealing with.
Right. I'm very glad that the show decided to have her be in the story.
Yeah, me too.
Even though she was kind of a plot mechanic for specifically him, her character was one that was extremely powerful because she was the only person in the whole show really to be staring down Shonen Bat and basically resisting him, although she also wanted to escape reality.
Right.
Everyone else, either they firmly rejected it after slipping into the fantasy, or they never really had to deal with Shonen Bat to begin with.
And the whole nature of like plot devices in this show is almost just character devices. Because the plot, because the internal states of the characters becomes literally physically manifest in the world of this show. Things like, seeing Ikari's wife and what she's going through and that whole scene with her and Shonen Bat and everything. It's
I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I was meaning just that they're in service of telling the story versus actually being there in service of developing the characters. Because the characters are...
I don't know. I think I disagree.
Okay, because I think the characters end up being representations of different aspects of paranoia just taking over them.
Definitely. And then chicken and egg, sort of which comes first. And with Satoshi Kon, right? Which of them are aspects of him just being really good at coming up with stuff versus how much of it is things that were fragments of himself, the feelings and thoughts and whatnot that he had, and he's giving them life in this story through turning them into these characters.
I would say he has to have at least, 1 or 2 degrees of separation of experience with all of it. And I would say it's at the very least him getting it from other people's stories or something like that.
Especially now that I think about it, because that's the story of Tsukiko.
Ah, right.
It's taking... She basically took her own trauma and made things out of it.
Right.
Right. And it was something that moved immense amounts of people. Right. Now, I don't know how popular Satoshi Kon was when he was alive. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something where he got more popular after he died. But he was able to get enough funding and stuff to make several movies and this show and everything. Yeah. So,
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, oh boy, this episode hit me a lot harder than I thought it would, because in the previous episode, they the whole bit with Tsukiko and Moromi, and like, okay, she, from her perspective at least, she killed her dog. Right?
Yes, right. That's why we thought it.
Yeah,
until we saw what actually happened.
Right. It's incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. However, that being said, I was not expected to be as invested in the outcome of the situations that were being explored in the literal physical world. I was more excited for how they would deal with the internal states of the characters.
Yeah, same.
But the idea of having it be literally physically made manifest didn't seem like I would end up being as invested in that. But there were so many things this episode that were absolutely fantastic. Like there was one, the figuring out that she didn't actually kill her dog, right? But she blames herself like she did,
to the point where she believes she did, basically.
Right, exactly. But then and there was all the ways that they used the literal physical manifestation of the internal states in order to showcase the growth and whatnot that was happening. You know, Moromi standing in the way of Shonen.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You know, like that's essentially her starting to reconcile things, and the memory of her precious dog. Yeah. Right. Basically saying, no, I'm not going to let her. I'm not going to let myself be in this way. Right.
Cool.
And then.
That's a good way of looking at it. I had a weird way of looking at it. Yeah, my weird way was that this was her final vestige of trying to avoid the problem. I was excited once she got consumed by the darkness, because that was basically her then having to come to terms with it.
Right.
Which meant she could win, which meant she could get out of this.
Sure.
But every time she avoided it, Moromi put itself in the way. That idealized version of where this dog is something that is in some ways immortal. It cannot die. It is this idea. It is not a real thing.
Right.
So therefore it keeps putting itself in the way. And so when it finally summons up all the Moromis and does that, I was like, yeah, this is her trying to summon up every last bit to avoid the problem.
Yeah. And
but I like how you see it too.
Well, and like, I love that point you made, because I think it's both. I think it's both of the things that we're saying, because and that's the point. Right. She needs to be able to handle both. She couldn't handle either, so or she couldn't handle both, so she got rid of all of it, right?
Yes.
As opposed to just holding on to one, right? And then she brought Moromi back, the good stuff of Moromi, in the format of this design, right?
Yeah, the truth of it. She let herself grieve. That was something that just made me really emotional, was realizing that it wasn't that I was seeing the dog. Like, seeing the dog, I was like, oh God, why are you showing us this? And it's like, no, you're right. She needs to see this.
Because she did see that.
Because she did, but she didn't grieve.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if she did grieve, I think if anything, it was way later, and it was underneath the context of the lie. So it's not her accepting this loss and it being something that was directly connected to her choices. It's not really important as to why she did that. It's just the fact that it happens, and this kind of stuff, life hitting you upside the head with just stuff, happens. I think that was another thing that was a theme of all the other victims of Shonen Bat, even though there was the separation where there was like ones that were actually attacked by a kid who was a copycat of Shonen Bat or what have you, versus the ones that weren't at all. That bit of them all wait, where was I going with this crap? No, I was saying, what was I saying?
The specific people and their issues, and getting attacked by Shonen Bat versus not getting attacked by Shonen Bat. I mean, well, because it was the connection point was back to Tsukiko and and how she dealt, she accepted, she grieved, she allowed herself to do that. And then there were all these other people that kind of needed to also reconcile their own issues, but they didn't, and that's why it continues. But
completely blew the point I was gonna make. Dang it.
Well, if you think of it,
go ahead.
But so, and the thing is, if it had just been Moromi and Tsukiko this episode, that would have been fantastic. And I'm really glad they didn't go for the route of Tsukiko actually killed her dog, right? Because that, like, how do you relate to something like that? But and now that I think about it, I'm like, wow, how did we not think of it? Like, we even thought of she got attacked, and but we didn't think, oh yeah, no, it wasn't a real attack.
Right.
But that part where it's just she needs to hold her dead dog, because it's something that's so simple, and with all the craziness that happens in this show, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this wonderful balance that's struck with the characters being very grounded, right, in the problems that they're dealing with, right?
Oh, and the character writing. Gotcha.
Yes,
Yeah.
And yet the actual plot of the show is
presentation,
the presentation and all that stuff is absolutely fantastical and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, you could say that
Satoshi Kon.
You could say that that's how we actually need to be. We need it to be like that in order to be able to go to those places, and that's why animation's so special, right? Because then it's not real. It's not real, and we can deal with it out here. It's not, it's the dealing with it in theory as opposed to, this is actually happening right now to me, right? But then in addition to all the stuff that we had with Moromi, we also had the stuff with Hikari and his wife, and I mean, I don't fully understand why it hit me so hard, because the stuff that they did with when they introduced Hikari's wife, in a lot of ways, I feel like hit harder than this. Or should have hit harder than this, or whatever, because there was no additional things introduced here really as far as the conflict goes. It's just the playing out of that struggle that Hikari has, and his wife, her heart being communicated to him, from essentially beyond the grave, right? And that was rough. That hurt, because Hikari made a lot of mistakes that made things, and can you blame him, right? He did his best, but he can't take those things back.
No,
can't take them back. And this isn't just some non-literal, metaphorical, supposal, whatever stuff that's happening for the sake of the audience. This is actual things with actual consequences, and Hikari will actually have to live with this.
Yep, we see it. We see it at the very end when they're walking about doing their life. He's a security guard now.
Yeah, and that hurts.
Yeah,
that hurts. But I loved seeing him pick up the bat and shatter the buildings and the two-dimensional people and everything.
That was fantastic.
And eventually the Moromi, like that was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. There are oftentimes a lot of aspects of our own. I would say psyche, because taking a bat to a lot of things, that's a bit aggressive. But like, there's a lot of things that we internalize, that we believe. There's a lot of things that we, hold on to that are just fantasy. They're just fiction. We hold on to them for whatever reason. But there's something so freeing when you realize that. I think it only happens like every once in a long while.
Yeah.
Where you go, oh my God, I can just let this whole thing go. That thing is pointless.
Yep.
It's actually meaningless for me to hold on to. And you just take a bat to it and you smash it away. It's one of the most freeing things. And I really think it's inspired the imagery of Shonen Bat in a lot of ways. Because I think when Hikari picked up the bat and started smashing everything, that was kind of the tying back to the motif of Shonen Bat. And you think about this kid on skates with a bat and a hat. This is a kid who's just free. This is nothing really to do.
And he saw himself as that hero, right? Yeah, which is what Hikari always wanted to be.
Which Hikari, in this case, doing this and taking a bat to this fantastical, alternate world, I think gave Tsukiko a little bit of a, okay, because we're dealing in this non-literal, psychological, space or what have you. And she's able to maybe think like, oh, okay, wait a minute. He's able to smash these lies so easily Could I be free like that too?
Yeah, and that's something where even though in the case of all of us, right, we might not have a literal two-dimensional world that we can take another person to who's hurting and then smash it and give them courage from that.
Sure, it's never so simple a solution. Right. Yeah.
But if someone sees you struggling with something and overcoming it, that's incredibly encouraging.
Yeah.
Because then, it can give them that hope of, okay, maybe I can too.
Yeah.
Maybe I can too.
So there are a lot of people that are actual victims out there.
Oh,
There's a lot of people that are dealing with a whole lot of stuff. And I think Satoshi Kon wasn't making some kind of statement about that with regards to society, because on the individual level, in a lot of ways, this might be a little bit of a victim way of looking at it, but I would say in a lot of ways, everyone is somewhere and somehow a victim to something. It's just to varying degrees of magnitude and what have you, and to how much it actually controls their lives or what have you.
Right.
But there are a lot of things I think that we needlessly attach our lives to and end up in somewhat buying into paranoia. The idea that paranoia, I think maybe this was me looking into Satoshi Kon's kind of messages a little bit too pointedly. But I think Moromi being merch and being this kind of craze culture of just, I need my Moromi merch or what have you. There are a lot of aspects of paranoia that I think we literally buy into. Like we actually invest time and resources and energy into something that is smoke and mirrors and nothing. And maybe every once in a while we might need to non-literally, emphasizing that here, take a bat to that kind of stuff,
right,
and see what's left, because I think there's going to be some good stuff behind there that we've been missing because we're blinded by all that.
And paranoia. It might be super messy like the city was after all this happened.
You might have some consequences to deal with.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you can't rebuild, and it might not take as long as you think. Looking at that city, I would not say that's a 2-year job.
Yeah.
I'd say that's 5 years minimum, right? But, hey, worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So, this is a good show, I would say, to show those people that really want to have a discussion without the need necessarily for going so much into finding answers. And I think those are the best discussions, are the ones where you just ask questions with people. And I think Satoshi Kon knew what he was doing when he made this. And while there are a couple episodes here and there that had slower bits or what have you, this is a really, really good show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It has a lot of aspects about it that I think I will never get until I rewatch it, though. Like that,
I get that. That makes a lot of sense.
That is definitely why this show is made. And he literally tells you, "Please go rewatch my show." At the end of the show.
Yeah.
So Satoshi Kon, you understand the value of rewatchability in your stories and what have you. So well done, wherever you're at now. You know. Thank you for this show. This was a very, very freaky, intense ride, but I feel like I learned something with these characters. I feel like I've seen past a lot of areas in paranoia in my life and little things where I'm like, oh, I should go and look at that again.
Yeah.
That might not be the same way I thought it was, or the actual way I thought it was.
But there's a show that's coming after this one because Paranoia Agent is done. That show, chosen by yours truly, is none other than Plastic Memories. I've been heard that this is one that will probably rip my heart out, so I'm all for that because I'm all about that life. But
we both not seen it, so it's a show. It's a show that we're very much looking forward to, and I'm guessing is going to have a complete tonal shift from what we got in this show.
Just a bit.
So switching things up a bit, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the first episode's reaction to Plastic Memories, episode 1, right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there, full length full-length reactions there, and any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us about these stories, about anime in general. You can also talk with Jacob about the book that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel. Now, I'm no Satoshi Kon at all, but it's a fun book, and yeah, it's available for purchase on Amazon. Link in the description below for both hardcover and ebook, so whichever works best for you, check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.